New York Attorney General Letitia James is getting behind an effort to change state law that could ban face coverings at protests. How about that? This is following a surge in hateful attacks during anti-Israel protests involving masked antisemites. James previously writing a letter to state lawmakers back in May 2020 expressing her full-throated support of repealing a New York law that banned group mask wearing, arguing it was a necessary step to enforce public health directives during the pandemic. Can you believe it that we're now in a time where they don't want masks to be used in mass settings?
But flashback to 2020, it was, yes, COVID. Also, during that time, the Black Lives Matter protest were taking place. A lot of those protesters wearing masks while demonstrating. The Empire State had some of the toughest mask mandates during COVID. Legal panels here to weigh in. Bob Bianchi, criminal defense attorney, former head New Jersey County Prosecutor. Stuart Kaplan is an attorney and former FBI special agent, and also here with us in studio, George Floyd. So welcome all. Bob, let me start with you. What do you make of AG James's efforts to get these lawmakers here to re-implement a ban on masks at protests?
Okay, well, listen, there's two sides to this argument, but I'm going to give you the one that's most akin to the career I've had, which is being a prosecutor and protection of the community. My own self, many times when there were these demonstrations happening or riots that were occurring, even before COVID, people were wearing masks. So this was obviously a very significant danger, in my opinion, not only to law enforcement for our ability to also prosecute these individuals. And lastly, just real quick to this point, there is no constitutional right, in my mind, to be anonymous in a public place. And the courts have recognized that for many years, including upholding laws that ban people, 3 or more people gathering that are wearing masks. So from a law enforcement perspective, I think this is a good idea.
We have a spokesperson for the AG's office in New York speaking out about this in a statement. They say, quote, "This is a complex legal matter, and we are currently in discussions with lawmakers on this issue. In New York, no one should be able to hide behind a mask to spew hate," unquote. May want to document that for a later date, should you need it. Want to bring in Stuart Kaplan on this one here. The governor of New York also on board with this. She was pitching ideas, again, of possibly banning masks on mass transit as well, unless there would be exceptions for public health issues, etc. But bottom line, how far would this go? Because obviously there would be health exceptions to this.
No, of course there would be health exceptions. But look, this is laughable. Let's talk about the mobs that are going through these department stores, these snatch and grab, where these people go in and steal merchandise or hold up a 7-Eleven and they use masks to hide or shield their identity. I mean, where is, the outcry that we should enhance a penalty if you go into a 7-Eleven and stick it up and you're wearing a mask? I mean, this is nonsense. The problem is that the New York State administration does not have the moxie or the common sense to address this problem, as these are activists, these are violent participants. This is not an exercise of your First Amendment right to assemble and have free speech. This is very, very destructive and toxic behavior that has proven to destroy human lives, to interrupt people that are trying to go to school. These people should be arrested and prosecuted for breach of the peace, period, end of story. This nonsense of whether they're wearing a mask or not, let's call it for what it is. These people have no, there's no intent to peacefully assemble. They're violent activists.
I see. Okay, so again, you're pointing out the actions that you're taking issue with, Stuart, as opposed to what they're wearing on their face. And
where was the federal government when they were interrupting these colleges? Yeah. Where were our federal partners in going out there and rounding up these individuals? These colleges showed deplorable judgment, sided with these people. It should have been shut down immediately from day one.
Okay. Gerard, we'll go to you next. Just your thoughts on realistically how this sort of approach could be enacted.
Well, realistically, we've had Klan laws. That's what these laws were enacted for, to prohibit members of the Ku Klux Klan from hiding their faces and providing all sorts of hate. These laws have been on the books in a number of states, including New York. The Second Circuit Court of Appeals ruled it was constitutional years ago, so there's good legal precedent to get it done. And it's necessary for safety. To put it in practical terms, there's an Israeli national who was attacked outside the gates of Columbia University, and the NYPD is unable to identify his attacker because of masks. And we're not talking about a medical face mask. We're talking about tactical balaclavas, we're talking about keffiyehs, we're talking about things that are not worn for medical purposes. So a narrowly tailored law would be good and useful and much needed.
Yeah, again, pointing that out, to close that out, it makes it difficult, again, to find the culprits or the perpetrators within these crimes. We appreciate Bob Bianchi, Stuart Kaplan, Gerard Fillity. Thank you very much.